This is the Reviewing Network Live, a weekly stream of consciousness recording session where I sit back with you folks out there, talk about some of the big news stories from the past week, and some other things I found that might be of amusement to you out there. I think you might get a kick out of it. Now, these are more like audio podcasts and are much longer than my usual videos and are also for the most part unedited and will contain some foul language. So, if you're easily offended by that, I advise you to maybe step back a bit, maybe go somewhere else. But hey, if you're up to the challenge, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thanks. And for the 65th time ever, we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Reviewing Network Live on this Sunday before Thanksgiving. I hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving this coming week. And, it's that time of the year again. I mean, the holiday season is upon us. That means the box office is going to get much more bigger and bigger as the weeks go on, and we're already seeing that this weekend. And also, as you can tell, my voice sounds a whole lot better than it did last week. I'm feeling a whole lot better. And I just wish we had more news stories to cover this week. There really wasn't a whole lot of big news stories in particular. But we found some stuff this week to talk about. Other things I have to briefly mention here as well. So, there is a full show this week, so before we get to any of that, though, let's talk about the weekend box office. Like I said before, this is when we're going to start to see the box office slowly but surely start to get, not even slowly but surely, but really start to get going, especially with this weekend's new releases. But let's get right to it. Let's start with the number 5 movie this week, and number 5 this week, once again, is Venom: The Last Dance, falling from number 2. It's been out for 5 weeks now. It has brought in $4 million this particular weekend, dropping 45% from the previous weekend. Bringing in a total of $133.8 million after 5 weeks. Worldwide, it is now over $456 million worldwide, so nothing too surprising there. We've talked about this movie long enough. It's been in the top 5 for the past 5 weeks, and we'll probably be out of here next week, especially with Moana 2 coming out on Wednesday. But let's get to one of the 3 new releases we have this week, because number 4 is a new release, and it's called Bonhoeffer Pastor, Spy, Assassin. I have no idea what this is about, but it's by Angel Studios, the studio that gave us The Chosen and The Sound of Freedom. So, didn't really need a big marketing campaign overall to find its audience. And it says here, as the world teeters on the brink of annihilation, Dietrich Bonhoeffer joins a deadly plot to assassinate Hitler, risking his faith and fate to save millions of Jews from genocide. That's all I know about it. I've never heard of it before. No real intention of ever seeing it. But it brought in $5.1 million in about 1,900 theaters. So like I said before, it doesn't need a big marketing campaign overall on television or anywhere to really sell it. It's got its audience. It's Angel Studios. They find a way to make these movies profitable. So I'm not going to question it. Just going to give you the results from it. Speaking of results, let's talk about the number 1 movie from last weekend, which is now at number 3 this weekend. And that is Red 1, the $200+ million MGM Christmas movie that they're hoping to start as a new box office franchise, a new Hollywood franchise, and not looking so good right now after 2 weeks. $52.9 million is the total after 2 weeks. This weekend only bringing in $13.3 million, dropping nearly 60% from the last weekend. Worldwide, it's only at $117 million, so it's got a long way to go before it makes any type of money per se. So, yeah, I was going to go see it this weekend along with the number 1 movie, but unfortunately, things got complicated, so that's why there was no talking about the movies today. I was a little bummed by that, but not getting one out there, but unfortunately, I didn't see any of the new releases this week, so I can't really say anything about these movies if I haven't seen them, so. But let's get to the 2 biggest new releases of the weekend. The movies that everyone was predicting to be the next Barbenheimer, Glick, these 2 movies that we're going to talk about here. Who won the battle? Number 2 this week, and that is Gladiator 2, which brought in $55.5 million this weekend. Not really much of a surprise because so many people were looking forward to this movie. I wasn't one of those people because I really don't think this movie looked any good. The budget on this movie is $210 million, but if you add in worldwide grosses, it's already past $230 million, so it really doesn't matter how much this movie makes here in the U.S. It's already made back its budget overseas. It's already made its budget back overseas, and didn't get the best reviews overall. I mean, it wasn't a badly reviewed film overall. I mean, it did what it needed to do. I just don't get why you needed to make a Gladiator 2. I mean, what was the point? I mean, like, this is why I can't take Ridley Scott seriously anymore as a director, because he's going back into the well way too many goddamn times, and the demand was not there for Gladiator 2, or at least I thought there wasn't a demand for Gladiator 2, but as you see, the box office says otherwise. But then again, like, it really isn't that big of a box office overall, and everyone was calling this weekend, Barbenheimer Part 2, but I'm going to talk about why that was complete BS, but, in a little bit here. But let's get to the number one movie this weekend, and not surprisingly, it is indeed Wicked, which is, of course, the musical version of The Wizard of Oz, which features the Wicked Witch as the main character of it, and brought in $114 million at the box office, which, for its opening weekend, that's the biggest. That's not surprisingly the biggest opening weekend for a Broadway musical movie opening weekend of all time. The budget on this is $150 million, and it's already amassed $164.1 million worldwide. So it has pretty much already made its money back and then some. And it's got a good stretch of run going forward. And really, it's kind of hard not to see why it was the big hit that it was. I mean, the marketing campaign was okay. Okay, I'm not going to say it was great overall, because, yeah, there were some really, really bad marketing campaigns with Target. The whole controversy about, how dare you people shun me. Cynthia Erivo was telling people, how dare you people shun me for wanting my face to be in front of the poster when the famous poster for the original Broadway musical is her looking down, the Wicked Witch. But didn't really matter, because people went to go see the movie. Everyone seems to really like it. It is one of the highest acclaimed movies of the year. And I got an article here from Deadline Hollywood talking about all the records that this movie broke in particular, and there was a lot of them. So like I said before, biggest global and domestic opening weekend for a movie based on a Broadway show, beating the worldwide opening of Les Miserables, which had $103 million worldwide, and the domestic opening of Into the Woods by Disney, which had $31 million. It's not really that big of a deal there. Biggest global and domestic opening weekend for Ariana Grande ever, but then again, this is her first motion picture in general, her first major leading role in a motion picture. Biggest domestic opening for a pop star. Wicked bested the likeness of such performances as Lady Gaga in A Star Is Born, Harry Styles in Don't Worry Darling, Britney Spears in Crossroads, Taylor Swift in Cats, Madonna Desperately Seeking Susan, and the entire domestic gross of Michael Jackson's The Wiz. Biggest global and domestic opening for Cynthia Erivo, besting the $12 million statewide start for Widows, which is a really good movie, by the way. If you haven't seen it, definitely check that out. Biggest global and domestic opening weekend ever for director John Chu, whose previous record was G.I. Joe Retaliation, which brought in $40.5 million in 2013. Biggest domestic opening for producer Mark Platt, besting The Little Mermaid's $95.5 million opening. However, it's the second biggest global opening for a film produced by Mark Platt. It's the biggest global opening for a non-sequel film for 2024, besting China's YOLO, which opened to $112 million over the Chinese New Year, as well as It Ends With Us, which posted an $80 million global first frame. Biggest opening ever for a musical feature by Stephen Schwartz, besting Enchanted, which opened to $34.5 million. Biggest domestic previews for a movie based on a Broadway musical at $19.2 million. Biggest first day for a movie based on a Broadway musical at $46.4 million, besting the first day preview hauls for Les Miserables and The Color Purple, which was basically the same amount, $18.1 million. Second biggest domestic opening for a musical feature in November, Frozen 2 is still the record holder at $130 million. Fifth biggest domestic opening for a musical feature ever, behind The Lion King 2019, Beauty and the Beast 2017, Barbie, and Frozen. Sixth biggest opening at the global box office for a musical feature, behind Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, Frozen 2, Barbie, Aladdin, movies we've talked about before. 10th biggest domestic opening weekend for November in a list that's topped by Black Panther: Wakanda Forever at $181 million. And third biggest opening weekend at domestic box office for 2024 at the time of this posting, besting Deadpool and Wolverine, behind Deadpool and Wolverine and Inside Out 2, and ahead of Beetlejuice. So it's got a lot of records. It was a movie everyone was really looking forward to. And I think the whole idea of them selling this idea that this could be another Barbenheimer weekend was a bad idea right from the get-go. And it was a bad idea mostly because, well, these movies are over 2.5 hours long, and like Barbie was at least a decent running time, and Oppenheimer was at least 3 hours long. So everyone was thinking that this was going to be the next one of those. But like these are two radically different things going on here, because Barbie and Oppenheimer came out in the summertime when everybody was off. Wicked and Gladiator are coming out around a time when people are still in school. They're only gonna have a couple days off for Thanksgiving weekend, and so it's not really going to be that same type of effect. And I'm just getting sick and tired of everyone trying to sell everything as the next, what. I mean, the next Barbenheimer. Everyone was trying to do that ever since last summer, and you just can't do that. Yeah, 2 blockbusters are going to open up on the same weekend. That used to be the norm. That used to be what Hollywood was all about back in the day. And then COVID happened, and then that became less of a factor, and so that's where we're in the situation that we're in right now with the box office in general. But like I said, I mean, nobody's really complaining about this per se. These movies did very well. They're going to continue to do well over the holidays, and even with stiff competition coming up next week with Moana 2, which I'm very curious of how that's going to do, because I know it'll be a box office hit. I'm very curious of what the critical reception to this is going to be, mostly because of the fact of what this movie is. I mean, it's marketed as a sequel, but it was originally a Moana TV series, and now they've just truncated it down from the I think it was the 6-episode series they were going to do, and now it's going to be a movie. And I think the fact that we haven't heard any reviews coming out of this yet has me a little bit concerned. I'm really interested to see what's going to happen when these reviews are going to start popping up for this movie, whether it's going to be on a Monday or Tuesday, or they're going to wait all the way until opening day on Wednesday, which, I mean, if that happens, that means that probably that's not a good sign for this movie going forward in terms of the critical reception overall. But we'll find out this week, and surely it's going to be a big blockbuster no matter what, and Disney kind of needs it after the last couple of Thanksgivings have not been very successful to them. So yeah, they definitely need a spark in terms of the box office, in terms of the Thanksgiving holiday, and they've usually been the winners of the Thanksgiving holiday no matter what. So that's the weekend box office as a whole. So let's go ahead and get to the few news stories I have this week. Like I said, not a lot, but there is some stuff here that we should talk about. So one of the big news stories right from the start of the week was the news that NBC Universal and Comcast are splitting off several of their cable networks and many assets. So what exactly does this mean? It was first kind of teased on Sunday night that something like this was going to happen, and then on, I believe, was it Monday or Tuesday? I think Tuesday was the day they announced it. I've got the story from Deadline Hollywood, so this will give us kind of an idea of what exactly is going on over at Comcast. Well, according to this, Comcast has formally unveiled plans to spin off most of its linear cable networks except Bravo to shareholders in a separate company, a move that President Mike Kavanaugh said today put all of NBC Universal on a new growth trajectory. Along with the spin, Comcast CEO Brian Roberts, in a note to staffers obtained by Deadline, announced a reorganized leadership team for NBC Universal, including expanded roles for Donna Langley, as well as Matt Strauss and Adam Miller. Deadline reported many of the spin details Tuesday, including leadership of the new entity initially called SpinCo by NBC Universal Media Group's Mark Lazarus, and CFO Anand Kinney, who will lead the development of an independent strategy while also establishing SpinCo as a potential partner and acquirer of other complementary media businesses, said Comcast, which will start a CFO search to replace Kinney and NBC Universal Media Group. There's a lot of potential after years of deal deadlock, with Starz set to become a new standalone company, AMC Network still flying solo, and Warner Bros. Discovery potentially looking to shed a partner on cable nets. To name a few possibilities, shares of WBD and AMC are higher. Comcast has opened the door also because SpinCo could use a bit more scale, some Wall Streeters are saying. As a standalone company with these outstanding assets, we will be better positioned to serve our audiences and drive shareholder returns in this incredibly dynamic media environment across news, sports, and entertainment, says Lazarus. We see a real opportunity to invest and build additional scale, and I'm excited about the growth opportunities this transition will unlock. Our financial strength will also provide capacity for an attractive capital return policy while allowing for investment in the growth of these businesses. Roberts says Langley, in her expanded role, will lead greenlight decisions across the NBCU enterprise and have full oversight over all entertainment programming and marketing across Peacock, Bravo, and NBC, including primetime and late night, and will continue to oversee the global creative strategy, business operations, productions, acquisitions, marketing, and distributions for the film and television studios. I'm trying to see. Let me see if I can find another story here, because I don't think we're really getting a good idea of what we're trying to talk about here. Let's see if this is any better. This is a story from Variety, and let's see if I can find starting point. Here we go. The spinoff company will house MSNBC, CNBC, Universal Network, USA Network, Oxygen, E, Sci-Fi, and Golf Channel. In addition, the company will include digital assets including Fandango and Rotten Tomatoes, online golf course booking service Golf Now, and youth sports platform Sports Engine. Comcast says it's structured as a tax-free spinoff. The new NBC cable TV company will be led by CEO Mark Lazarus, overseeing the company's TV and streaming operations. I'm trying to see if there's anything here. Post-spin, NBC Universal will compromise the NBC broadcast networks and stations, the Peacock streaming service Bravo, the reality TV powerhouse seen as a key to Peacock's success, NBC News Group, NBC Sports Telemundo, the Universal Theme Park and Resorts, and NBC's film and television studios. The new NBC will be led by Mark Strauss, who will become chairman of NBC Universal Media Group, overseeing Peacock, NBC Sports ads, sales, distribution, research, and affiliate relationships, and longtime content executive Donna Langley, who is assuming the role of chairman of NBC Universal Entertainment and Studios, expanding her purview to include full oversight of all entertainment programming and marketing across Peacock, Bravo, and NBC. So, essentially what's going on here is that the cable networks of NBC, NBC News, CNBC, USA, Sci-Fi Channel, Golf Channel, all those networks, they're going to be splitting up into their own separate company, and they've been talking about doing this for a while now. And so really, not really much changes overall, except one company will be specifically focusing on NBC, the network, and Universal as a whole, and then the cable networks will be separated into their own entity, pretty much. So I found another article here kind of giving us kind of 5 questions in particular of what this exactly means for the companies as a whole. And they separate it into 5 different questions. What other cable networks will the new company covet? And it says the spinoff looks like others of its kind. The new Comcast company will be loaded down with debt like rival Warner Brothers Discovery. Its manager and veterans who have include new CEO Mark Lazarus, who has held senior operating TV roles for years, and Comcast expects the new entity to be acquirer of assets, according to a person familiar with the matter. To be sure, cable's not the media venue of the future, but have you seen these prices? Paramount Global and Warner Brothers Discovery, 2 of the biggest owners of top cable networks, have said their assets are losing value. Warner in August unveiled a $9.1 billion write-down of its tax TV assets, citing business headwinds as well as the projected loss of its lucrative agreement with the NBA to show games on its cable networks. Paramount Global followed suit, revealing a $5.9 billion impairment charge as it prepares for its acquisition by Skydance Media. The new Comcast spinoff might be able to pick up storied brand names at lower cost, adding to the leverage its networks can have in the marketplace. So the second question is, how do you run 2 news networks cut off from the news gathering of NBC News? Journalists inside the large NBC News Group have started freaking out in the past 24 hours, according to 2 people familiar with the operations, because the proposed spinoff raises many unanswered questions about their futures. Can MSNBC and CNBC separate from the news gathering apparatus of NBC News function as they have? To be sure, CNBC has largely been treated as a separate entity over the years, the result of quarrels between past executives, has put new focus on cultivating ties with business information aficionados. MSNBC, however, relies heavily on the information and details ferreted out daily by NBC News. Indeed, much of the MSNBC daytime schedule is filled with journalists, not opinion hosts, who remain affiliated with NBC News and Telemundo. Executives are likely to focus on the issue over the next year, according to a person familiar with the matter. It's possible to have certain commercial or licensing agreements put in place that might guarantee usage of NBC News reporting, contributors and talent on the 2 cable networks. At the same time, the spinoff could force MSNBC to focus even more heavily on the progressive opinion programming that is its bread and butter, as it could free CNBC to go after its core audience without having to worry about NBC News, which has its own reporters who cover the business and the economy. Let's see, what else do we have here? I'm trying to look through here to see if there's anything else I kind of should need to tell you. Doesn't look like there's anything else here in particular. So, essentially, the cable networks of, like I said before, the cable networks of NBC and Universal are splitting up into their own separate companies, so they're not really leaving NBC and Universal, but they're spinning off into their own thing in general. And so basically, there's going to be some significant changes on certain networks, but I really would not expect to see anything too massive right from the get-go in terms of big changes overall happen just yet. But surely as the new year comes along, we'll hear a lot more about what could happen with Comcast and NBC Universal and their plans going forward after that. But we'll see what happens at that point. But like I said, nothing too significant right now, but this is a story that was just breaking it to start the week off. So that's the first story I have here. Let's go ahead and move on to story number 2. So this week, there was some big news in the world of The Simpsons, and that is one of its most prolific voice actresses is announcing her retirement after 35 years. And it's not one of the main characters it's not one of the actors who voices the family itself, though it is still a significant person in general. And I have the story here from the Hollywood Reporter. It says, a longtime Simpsons voice actor is retiring. Pamela Hayden, who has voiced Bart's friend Milhouse Van Houten and dozens more characters for the past 35 years, is departing the long-running Fox series. Hayden has been credited on just under 700 of The Simpsons' 774 episodes to date. In addition to Milhouse, Hayden has provided the voice for Jimbo Jones, Rod Flanders, and occasionally his brother Todd, Malibu Stacy, Lisa's classmate Janie, and many other recurring and one-time characters. The time has come for me to hang up my microphone, but how do I say goodbye to The Simpsons? Not easily, Hayden said in a statement. It's been an honor and a joy to have worked on such a funny, witty, and groundbreaking show. I'll always have a special place in my heart for the blue-haired 10-year-old boy with glasses. Milhouse first appeared in the Butterfinger ad in 1989 when The Simpsons was still a series of shorts on the Tracy Ullman Show, and has been a part of the series since its first episode, since Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire. Pamela's talent and joy and love for her characters has added a magic to The Simpsons that will never be forgotten, said showrunner and executive producer Matt Selman. Everything's coming up, Pamela. Added Simpsons creator Matt Groening, Pamela gives us a ton of laughs. Toy boat. Let me rephrase that again. Pamela gives us tons of laughs with Milhouse, the hapless kid with the biggest nose in Springfield. She made Milhouse hilarious and real, and we will miss her. Executive producer James L. Book said, she is a model for having a great spirit for every cast she has been a part of. We will miss her. The Simpsons will begin casting for Hayden's characters in the near future. A tribute to Hayden's work on the show is, it's below, because they should have a little bit of, it was like I'll let you hear a little bit of it. It's only about a minute and a half, but this was a little video they put together when they made this announcement.
I'm Pamela Hayden, hi. Cool. I do Jimbo Jones, one of the boys.
Don't mess with me.
I'm Rod and sometimes Todd. And my main guy is Milhouse.
This is where I come to cry. Way to drink, Poindexter!
People would come up to me and they quote Milhouse lines.
I've said Jiminy Dilliker so many times the words have lost all meaning.
People are always saying what a nerd he is.
What's up?
But one thing that I love about Milhouse is he's always getting knocked down, but he keeps getting up.
I'm never giving up.
Here he is.
Not again!
I love the little guy. It's this wonderful analogy for life.
You put your glasses back on and you go on. Oh, Milhouse. Everything's coming up Milhouse.
Who knew that it would ever become this phenomenon? It's the greatest job in the world.
So yeah, that was a little video they put together to honor her legacy there. And like I said before, this is kind of a butcher. I don't think I didn't say this before. So what am I saying? But I think this is kind of a bigger deal than most people are letting on, and it's mostly because of the fact that it's the first time we've had a character from The Simpsons, a voice actor from The Simpsons announcing that they're retiring from the show, and that may not seem like a big deal overall because, we've seen voice actors come and go. Some have left us, unfortunately. Phil Hartman, when he died, a lot of his characters were retired. Marsha Wallace of course, Edna Krabappel. When she died, her character was retired from the show. Lucy Taylor, when she passed away, a lot of her characters were actually given a new voice through, most of them through Grey Delisle. I always keep screwing up the pronunciation of this woman's name. Hold on one second. Grey Delisle. I'm sorry. I keep screwing up this woman's name, but I've heard her in so many voices before. I've talked about her before, and I just always keep forgetting the right pronunciation of this particular name. So she's actually coming and replaced a lot of the voices that Lucy Taylor did. So it's not going to be that much of a shock to replace. It's not going to be that hard to replace a lot of these voice actors these characters that Pamela Hayden has brought to the table. But I mean, honestly, the biggest thing about this whole thing is that, like I said before, it's a voice actor retiring from the show. And so now the door is open pretty much for anybody to retire from the show. Like, if they feel like they're getting to a point now where they should retire, where they feel like they're ready to go call it quits, the door is pretty much open for them. I'm not saying this to have anybody in particular retire. I'm not going to be one of those people that's like, Julie Kavner, like anytime anyone brings up modern day Simpsons or I show a clip, or anyone shows a clip of Marge in a new episode of the show, everyone's going to be like, well, Julie Kavner's been in there too long. She's clearly tired of doing it. She needs to retire. It's just like, she has the opportunity to retire anytime she wants to. Like, nobody's really stopping her from doing that, and she seems to continue to enjoy doing it. And I'm not going to tell her to retire. I'm not going to tell anybody to retire, honestly. I mean, honestly, there's no reason to retire from this when you love doing your job so much. But seeing Pamela Hayden leaving the show after all these years now, and it does open, like I said, it does open the door now for who's going to be the next one to go. Like, is this the beginning of The Simpsons slowly but surely coming to an end? I mean, as of the time I'm recording this, on November 24th of 2024, The Simpsons is not currently renewed after next season, which, I mean, it's not usually a big deal. It usually does get announced before the season ends, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if we get at least maybe one or two more two-season pickups here. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to end it around 40 years, because the show has been on for that long, and they want to try to. A show like this usually likes to try to end on a even number, like a 35. Like Bob Barker went out after 35 years on The Price is Right. Johnny Carson went out after 30 years on The Tonight Show, like that type of thing. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if The Simpsons goes to at least maybe season 40, and then they start thinking about maybe the show coming to an end at that point. But then again, we're starting to see somewhat of a beginning of a transition from the show airing on Fox all the time to moving to Disney Plus, because we're getting 4 episodes this season of The Simpsons that are going to be straight to Disney Plus, and I think that starts with a couple of episodes beginning next month, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if I can find the information here. I could have sworn maybe 4 episodes are coming to Disney Plus, including a 1-hour Christmas episode, which will air on December 17th on Disney Plus. So we're already starting to see somewhat of a transition from a different way of how we're used to watching The Simpsons nowadays, because a lot of the times people are watching The Simpsons through not just the airings on Fox on Sunday nights. They're watching it through Disney Plus. They're watching it through Hulu. They're watching it through reruns on FXX and Freeform. Like, they're finding other ways to watch the show other than just watching it after football on Fox, like it used to be. So I wouldn't be surprised if, honestly, Fox decides down the road to just let The Simpsons go straight to Disney Plus. They could probably do the same thing to Family Guy with Hulu, since we've gotten a couple Hulu exclusive episodes. We actually have one coming up tomorrow night for Christmas, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they do there. But it wouldn't surprise me if we're starting to see the beginning of the slowly but surely end game plan for The Simpsons going forward, which would be a bummer to me, because The Simpsons is still my favorite television show of all time. It's still a tradition I like to watch on Sunday nights, but yeah, you can see why this is being seen as a much bigger deal than it actually is, because, having somebody leaving the show for all these years and announcing their retirement, it basically opens the floodgates of what could happen with everybody else. If they decide that they're ready to go, there's nothing really stopping them from going at this point. But I mean, these characters, I think, will live forever no matter what happens. Even if everyone does retire and the show does eventually end, it'll eventually get rebooted down the road. Probably not to be as successful as the original run is, but I still love the show as it is, and this was one of the big news stories of the week, so yeah. Congratulations to Pamela Hayden on 35 years, and the last episodes, I think we actually start tonight with the new episode they're doing on The Simpsons tonight. I think she has a couple of other episodes this season before they eventually get a new voice actress in there, which they haven't gotten yet, but still got a long way to go before that happens, So that's the story from The Simpsons. So let's go ahead and update you on a story that we talked about back at D23, and many of you are going to be very disappointed by the end result of what I'm about to talk about here. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the rumors are true. Muppetvision 3D will no longer be at Disney's Hollywood Studios because Monsters Incorporated, Monstropolis, is going into the area where the Muppets are currently located at. And I've got the story here from, this is from WDW Magic, and they have the official story here that was basically Disney officially announcing this decision. And it says here that Disney has officially announced that Muppets Courtyard will be the site for the new Monsters, Inc. land at Disney's Hollywood Studios. The decision marks a significant change for the park as the beloved Muppetvision 3D and surrounding areas will be replaced to make way for the new land. The choice of Muppets Courtyard comes after months of speculation following the Monsters, Inc. land announcement at D23 2024, with both Muppets Courtyard and Animation Courtyard being considered as potential sites, which, if we're being honest, Animation Courtyard probably was the better option because there's nothing really there anymore. The animation studio's no longer there. Nobody's really going to see the Voyage of the Little Mermaid show because that has been open since COVID happened. There's the Playhouse Disney thing, which hasn't been updated in years, so a lot of people really thought that was going to be where Monsters, Inc. was going to go, but they've ultimately decided to repurpose Muppets Courtyard for this major new addition, which includes the highly anticipated suspended door coaster. The redevelopment will also involve the closure of Muppetvision 3D, as well as the transformation of nearby restaurants such as Melrose, Pizza Rizzo, and the surrounding shops. Disney has not yet given a closing date, but a construction of Monsters, Inc. is planned to begin in 2025. In a short statement about the future of Muppetvision 3D, Disney said, "As we move forward with these changes, we are having creative conversations and exploring ways to preserve the film and other parts of the experience for fans to enjoy in the future," which, I mean, there are other places in Disney where you could put it. I mean, there are theaters in Epcot. There are places that are empty in Epcot and Magic Kingdom where you could easily put that in there if you want to save the movie, which I really think they should save it. I mean, you're going to put it next to a Rock and Roller Coaster, which is going to be more Muppet related, as I'm about to tell you here. Disney also announced today that the Muppets will be taking over Rock and Roller Coaster, where they will be teaming up with some of music's biggest stars for a Rockin' Musical Festival. So, yeah, they're rebranding the Rock and Roller Coaster. It's no longer going to be Aerosmith-based, so, yeah. You got an area there where you can put the Muppets Vision 3D area there. I mean, there are areas, the empty areas in the parks where you can put this at. So it's not really that much of a, it's not really, what am I trying to say here? It wouldn't be that hard to find a place to put this at, honestly. That's what I'm trying to say. Hell, you could put it next to the theater that American Idol used to be in. That's currently, I think it's currently like a Frozen Live area. Like, you could put it in there. Like, there are places in these park areas where you could put this at. Like, it's not really that hard to do. But anyway, back to the Monsters, Inc. land. Disney says that the new Monsters, Inc. land will be a living, breathing, and not at all scary monsters-inspired area where you'll be able to stroll the streets of Monstropolis alongside some of your favorite monsters. Okay, so it's just basically telling us everything that we knew at D23. But yeah, this is a story that kind of everyone was expecting to happen, but it has now been made official that Muppetvision 3D will be closing down for this new Monstropolis area that will be opening up in the next couple of years. But yeah, it's unfortunate, but you know, it really was feeling like that it was going to happen at some point. But like I said before, they could still put Muppetvision 3D somewhere else. I mean, they could put it next to the new Rock and Roller Coaster they're going to be working on. I mean, there's an empty building right there they can use. So, it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to be like everybody else online who's like, blaming, blasting Bob Iger for this. It's just like, how dare you destroy this? It's just like, this shit happens all the time, people. You just got to let it go and just like, it's not like they can't put this somewhere else. I mean, they should be able to, is I think the word of mouth from people who really want to see this be saved will help it get to another location. I don't know where it's going to be, but it's not the end of the world, people. Just take a chill pill. Calm down. There are much more important things to worry about right now than where Muppetvision 3D is going to go at this point. So, now watch me get lambasted for saying that. But, so that's the latest update on that. So let's go ahead and move on to the next story here. And some people might be excited about this next news story that I have here. Man, just when you thought Aaron Rodgers Presents the New York Jets was the most chaotic production going on in New York City right now, just when they thought the Jets were along with the Tennessee Titans and the Cowboys and the Browns, were up there with some of the most poorly put together football teams out there, a new challenger has emerged in the New York Giants because, good God Almighty, how the hell did you screw this up? If you don't know what I'm talking about, the New York Giants have released Daniel Jones, their franchise quarterback that they drafted in the first round back in 2019. After 6 years with the Giants, 1 day of practice spent as a scout team safety, and one heartfelt farewell statement, Daniel Jones is leaving New York. This is from the NFL official website, from the story that took place on Friday. And it says, the Giants are granting Jones' request to be released on Friday, the team announced. Daniel came to see me this morning and asked if we would release him, owner John Maris said in a statement. We mutually agreed that would be best for both him and for the team. Daniel has been a great representative of our organization, first class in every way. His handling of the situation yesterday exemplifies just that. We are all disappointed in how things have worked out. We hold Daniel in high regard and have a great appreciation for him. We wish him nothing but the best for his future. You hold him in high regard and have a great appreciation for him. Yeah. Because that definitely shows when you let Saquon Barkley just walk over to your division rival, and look at how well they're doing right now. You did a good job of giving Daniel Jones all the weapons he needed to work with him, and it's amazing how I can't believe that the Giants have, in 1 week, dismantled their entire franchise in something that Aaron Rodgers took a year and a half to do. That's incredible. They took their franchise quarterback who they gave him nothing to do this season because, you took away his best weapon in Saquon Barkley. You let him walk in free agency. You didn't give him a whole lot of help on the offensive side of the ball. You're asking him to do way too much. You're giving him way too much to work with in terms of what he has to do against the competition, and this is how you do it to him? I know people hated Daniel Jones. I know he hated the fact that I know they don't like him as a whole, but I'm sorry. This is has to be one of the dumbest decisions I have ever seen in my life, to just completely ruin a quarterback like this the way they did. Because this is unbelievable how badly they have just butchered this whole thing. But don't count it. But this won't be the last time we will see Daniel Jones this season, because once tomorrow comes around, he's free to sign with anybody he wants to. And supposedly, according to NBC Sports, 10 teams have already reached out to Daniel Jones, and one of them wants him to play right now. And it says right here, this is from Pro Football Talk on NBC, quarterback Daniel Jones isn't a free agent yet. That hasn't stopped a bunch of teams from reaching out. Jay Glazer of Fox Sports reports that 10 teams have already reached out to Jones, and that one of them is a team for which he could play right now. Never mind the fact that by rule, no one is allowed to speak to Jones or his representation until he clears waivers, which they put him on waivers yesterday. It's happening with Jones, and it happens all the time. As mentioned earlier, he could still be claimed on waivers by any team that is willing to pay $11.83 million for the rest of the year and assume $23 million in injury guarantees. So who would want him to play right away? While the team wasn't disclosed, reasonable guesses would be the Raiders, and maybe the Raiders. Okay, this is Mike Florio saying this, but I think we all know who Daniel Jones should be going to, and it should be happening this week, and it's a team that the Giants will be playing on Thursday. Of course, I'm talking about the Cowboys. Can you imagine how absolutely fucking hilarious that would be if the Giants head to Dallas and it's Daniel Jones as the starting quarterback? Yeah, I know they won today against the Commanders in a game that was just so ugly, and then all of a sudden it just got crazy by the end of the fourth quarter. But how hilarious would that be if Daniel Jones gets picked up by the Cowboys and he plays on Thanksgiving Day and just completely balls out over his former team? how crazy would that be if that's the thing that turns the season around for them? Like, the possibilities of what could possibly happen if this happens to be the case are absolutely hilarious. Hilarious. I don't think it's gonna happen, but man, it would be so hilarious if it did, because that would be something where it's just like that's the only thing that could probably make this game on Thursday so watchable. But probably not going to be the case. According to ESPN, it's looking like the two likeliest teams to land Jones are the Minnesota Vikings and the Baltimore Ravens, because why the fuck not? Because apparently the Baltimore Ravens have this magical bag of money that they can just use anytime they want to grab somebody, and it just, yeah, it's, they're saying the Baltimore Ravens, they're saying the Minnesota Vikings. I saw something else where they said that possibly the San Francisco 49ers, which right now they're dealing with an injury to Brock Purdy, which he's not playing in this game, that's currently playing right now with the Green Bay Packers, and the Packers are just beating the balls off of him right now. But other teams, the Lions, he can win a Super Bowl by sitting behind Jared Goff if he wants to. The Miami Dolphins, which you should have thought of that before. You should have thought of that during that stretch run where you were waiting for Tua to get back. I don't know what good he's going to do for him now, but I digress. I even heard the Steelers possibly, but like, why? Like, why would you want to go to the Steelers for when they've already got two quarterbacks there? And everyone's already talking about, hey, 2025, the Steelers could sign Daniel Jones if Russell Wilson decides to walk or Justin Fields decides to walk. They're not going to do any of that. Like, why would they go from Russell Wilson and Justin Fields to Daniel Jones? Like, you'd have to be crazy to do that. But then again, this is Mike Tomlin, and Mike Tomlin does a very good job handling QBs that everyone thinks there's dead on the water. That is, unless you're playing the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland on a Thursday night, which, the less I say about that, the better, because still not over it. I'm still not over it, but so either way, I think we're gonna find out sometime this week who Daniel Jones is going to go to, and I think it's probably gonna be a team that we probably don't even know is not even in contention right now. It'll probably be somebody like the Carolina Panthers, or who's another team that has a quarterback struggle right now? Maybe Tennessee. Tennessee. Yeah, they beat the Texans today, but Will Levis really isn't the future for that franchise. I'm sorry to say that. He's not that good of a quarterback at all, and yet he's still the one that gets commercials on TV. It's just like, hey, worry about your game before you do all these commercials for mayonnaise. It's just like, I don't know. This is just me thinking right now, but so yeah, Daniel Jones no longer a member of the New York Giants, and New York basically is a hellhole right now for NFL football teams. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next thing I want to cover here. So yeah, kind of like how I implied in the last news story, Friday was kind of a rough day for me because I had to deal with what I expected to happen. The Steelers underplayed down to Cleveland and lost in a game that they should not have won and looked absolutely horrible. They looked exposed, and the Cleveland Browns, that was their Super Bowl. That's the only thing they're going to have in this entire world as we know it, and, they're going to talk like assholes. Everyone's going to treat them like they're gods or something. Like I saw a video after the game where the NFL literally called Jameis Winston a national treasure. Like, get the fuck out of here with that. So Friday, naturally, I was in a very, very sour mood. I was not really looking forward to doing anything. I didn't really want to go into work because I was going to get asked about what the hell happened in that game. Like, everyone asked me all the time, like, what happened? Like, what happened in that game? Like, why didn't they win? It's just like, why do you think they didn't win? Yeah, because, like, I didn't want, it's like, needless to say, it was a very rough day for me in terms of getting my thoughts together. So I decided so during my shift, I decided to, I gotta take my mind off some things. I gotta go back to something that will always make me happy no matter what. And that was some old episodes of Family Double Dare, like classic Nickelodeon game shows in general, but mostly Family Double Dare. And so I had like a playlist going on when I was working, and And while I was working, one episode came up that I never saw before, and I thought, okay, this is one I haven't seen before. It's probably something that hasn't been seen on TV in over 35 years because this was back in 1990. And so the episode plays, and it starts off like a normal episode.
On your mark. Set. Go! Get those things close. This finger could be pointing the way to big prizes for one of these two teams. But while one raises its hopes, the other will raise 25 points and control of the game. You gotta hand it to them. Let's go up there and play some Family Double Dare. It's Family Double Dare. And now, here's your Family Double Dare host, the only game show celebrity who has a degree in nuclear physics, Mark Summers.
So it starts off like a normal episode, and then you slowly but surely start to realize the families that are playing. And, you know, if you watch Family Double Dare long enough, you know there's some specific people that are involved in within the show itself. And, you know, like the announcer Harvey, and, you know, some of the assistants like Robin. And you start to see that they're playing the game, like they're playing a game. Was this like a charity thing that they were doing? Because on one side you had Harvey and Robin, and you had a couple of other assistants there, and then on the other side you had the creators of Double Dare there, like the people who made the show back in 1986. They were all. So I'm wondering what the heck's going on here. Like, what is all this? Like, what exactly am I missing here? And then the episode keeps going, and then you start to realize what this probably is.
I know I probably look like, what's the name of the group with the berets? What's the name of that thing? I can't get it. Jeffrey. Huh? Not the Green Berets. The people who walk the people who walk in the subways. What are they called? Oh, the Guardian Angel. I look like a homosexual guardian angel with a.
Mark Summers just said a homosexual guardian angel. It's just like, well, what the heck's going on here? Why is this on Nickelodeon? It's just like, and then you start to realize, okay, I think I know exactly what this is. So yeah, I came across this episode of Family Double Dare where I guess what I'm getting from this is that this is probably one of those things, like you know how Christmas, like you know how these shows have these big Christmas parties. They have like these big videos that they put together. Like I think Scrubs did like a video for the Christmas party where they're just basically putting their voices over a Charlie About Christmas, which you can find online. It's actually pretty funny, but maybe this is one of those things. But then again, keep in mind, this is back in July of 1990. This was when Universal Studios was just opening up in Florida, and Double Dare had just moved from Philadelphia, where they've been for a couple of years, down to Orlando. So maybe this was kind of like a test pilot episode for the new Family Double Dare, or maybe this was just them having a good time, because, yeah, this is a much more adult and crazier and wilder version of Double Dare than usual, because of lines like what I mentioned before.
The Green Berets, the people who walk in the people who walk in the subways. What are they called? Oh, the Guardian Angel. I look like a homosexual guardian angel with a thing on, don't I? There was a joke there somewhere, but it wasn't worth it. Anyway, we're having a special show. It's sort of an old-timer show is the way we refer to it. People who were involved putting the show together since day one. And let's meet them starting to my left. They are dressed in red. Let's hear it for Air Force One. Yes! Meet them face to face, starting off with Bob Mittenthal, who is one of our creators of this program, followed by Byron Taylor, who is responsible for the obstacles and a lot of the physical challenges, followed by Jeffrey Darby. We have no idea what the hell this man does.
Like, you could just tell that they were just there having a good time with it, and the episode itself pretty much runs like a standard Family Double Dare episode, except that all the obstacle courses, all the physical challenges are much longer in length, because everyone's just having a good time overall and just said, let's just go crazy. Why not? I mean, I guess this had to be some kind of thing they had like at a party for a celebration for the fact that they just moved down to Florida or something. But it's a really funny episode. It's really, really funny stuff to see, you know, Mark Summers and all these guys talking like this and going more crazier than usual. And yeah, it's a very, very funny episode. It's a very, very odd episode indeed. And no reason for bringing it up per se, but I thought, but it did lighten my mood up a little bit on Friday after having kind of a rough day beforehand. You can go find this episode online. I'll actually leave a link to it below. It's called Family Double Dare Old Timers Air Force One versus the Milk-like Substances, and yeah, I'll just say that it's a ton of fun to watch. You should definitely check it out. Like I said, I'll leave a link to it below so you can go check it out. But so with all that said, that's going to pretty much wrap this up here. So let's go ahead and get to some recommendations, and then we can get on out of here. So, not really surprising, not a big new release week this week. I think last week was like the big new release week that everyone was looking forward to with Beetlejuice. So, kind of in a state of limbo right now in terms of new releases. So, with Thanksgiving coming up, of course, I gotta recommend my usual Thanksgiving favorites. Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, of course. Can't go Thanksgiving week without watching Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, the classic movie, Steve Martin, John Candy. Home for the Holidays is a really good one with Jodie Foster, Robert Downey directing it, starring Holly Hunter, Robert Downey Jr. Really great movie that came out in 1995. I've mentioned that movie several times before. I'm trying to think of what else I can recommend, because those are usually my three that I usually go to. Home for the Holidays, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. But other than that, though, that's pretty much about it. Not really much in terms of new recommendations this week. But, yeah, I really got nothing else for you on that front. But like I said, that's going to wrap up this episode of the Reviewing Network Live. Kind of on a whimper note, because I don't really have that much in terms of new recommendations I could talk about. But thank you guys so much for watching and listening. I know it wasn't really an eventful week in terms of major news or anything, but I gave you something, so take that for what you will. So I don't even know if this is actually going to get to about an hour's length, because usually the show's over an hour. I think we might just get on the cusp of that in general, but I don't know, maybe not. But yeah, like I said, not much more to say except thank you so much for watching and listening. We post new episodes here every Sunday night of the show. We also have trailer reactions, Time About the Movies clipless versions. We have the NFL Network on Wednesday. And I'm thinking about maybe doing a Thanksgiving Day rewatch of the Lions and Bears game on Thursday. Not because the Giants and Cowboys game will be eating dinner around then. But I might do something before then. I haven't decided on that yet. Don't quote me on that yet. But that's an idea I'm tossing around here. But with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. If you like this and you want to see more of this, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, check out some of the other episodes we've done with the playlist and the last episode we did. And I'll see you guys next week. So thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. And I'll see you guys next Sunday night as we begin the month of December. And thank you for watching and listening. I'll see you guys next time. And until then, we are out.